Welcome to the Musicians Talk Show, episode number 41. My name is Dallas Dwight.
Hey, and I'm Matt Tolley.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Bandzoogle. Bandzoogle makes it easy to build a stunning website for your music in minutes. Am I reading this right? Do I sound like a news anchor or something? Choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes.
I think you could do more motion.
More motion.
Yeah.
Then customize your design and content in a few clicks with Bandzoogle's easy visual editor. All the features you need.
No, it's too sad. That's not Bandzoogle.
For a promotional... I said the wrong word there. All right, well, this is not going to work, so we got to do this right. All the features you need for a professional website are already built in, including tools to sell your music and merch commission-free, dudes. Come on. Commission-free. They're not going to take any money from you other than what you pay a monthly. That's why they can do that. Right on your website. Mailing list tools to grow your fan list and send newsletters, so keep in touch with your fans. Integrations to pull all your content from your socials like SoundCloud, all that stuff. And live support from their musician-friendly team 7 days a week. Bandzoogle plans start at just $8.29 a month. Dude, You could find that in your couch.
Yeah.
With like coins.
Yeah.
Assuming you have a lot of people over that have loose change in their pockets. And that's going to include your own free custom domain name right in that price. So go to bandzoogle.com, try it free for 30 days. Be sure to use our promo code TMTS. And we got you guys 15% off your first year. That's promo code TMTS. Who do we have today, Matt?
Oh, we got Lee Luland from Prospect.
Lee Luland from Prospect.
We just did a solo of the week a couple episodes back. Well,
yeah,
a few episodes
back. Yeah, he was the solo of the week, and we talk a lot about that solo.
Yeah,
and we chose that solo to talk about because we had talked about it on the show before, so the callback was nice. But what a phenomenal guitar player, even cooler guy.
Very cool guy. I don't know, even cooler. I think guitar player is pretty fucking cool. I mean,
he's as cool of a guy as his guitar playing.
I believe that is the truth right there.
And I feel like we really made a friend today.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy, man. It was awesome to talk to him.
And lots of great insights here. I mean, about practicing, about solos, about guitar, about becoming your own musician, all sorts of cool stuff. And then we dive into some fun stuff as well. Film scores. Yeah. Top 5 albums.
Everything being a musician. Check it out.
It's the Musicians Talk Show, people. Let's get started. The first thing I wanted to ask you was, how'd you get started in music? What kind of led you to where you are today?
I started playing guitar when I was 13 years old. I was always surrounded by music, sort of growing up in the household. My dad played a lot of rock music and different styles of music and stuff like that. And then, like I said, when I was 13, just got my first classical guitar, just like a really cheap, rubbish one. But straight away, I was like obsessed with it. I just practice all the time, trying to make the little guitar sound as good as possible and just try and learn riffs and things like that from the bands I was into at the time. Like 70s rock bands, mainly Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, those sort of guys. And then about a year later, finally my dad caved in and said I could get an electric guitar.
Very nice.
And then my annoying brother decided he wanted to play guitar as well, and he wanted electric guitar, even though he'd never played a guitar. He hadn't done anything to do with music, never showed any interest in music. So my dad decided that he could have one as well, which I was pretty annoyed about. So anyway, went to the music shop. We both got a guitar, came back, and I was delighted, over the moon, couldn't put the thing down. And my brother quit after about 20 minutes, I reckon, and just went outside and played football. And that was that. And then I said to him the following day, so you're not having that guitar then? Can I have it? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I had 2 electric guitars after one you were playing, which was cool.
That's awesome.
Stuck Van Halen stickers on one, and the other one was just like my standard sort of Sunburst one, but the other one was my Van Halen one. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was pretty fun. And then just, from then on, just sort of got into different styles of music, and obviously all the guitar players that I'm into and stuff like that. And just, went to town and tried learning as much as I could, and just trying to get better at becoming the best musician I can be, I guess. Still working on it though.
It worked out, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
very cool story.
I think we all are. Who are some of those guitarists you're into now? I'm interested to hear. I'm sure you share some similar.
Yeah, so many. Obviously, I'm a big fan of like Greg Howe. I know he's been on the show. That was amazing listening to him. He's one of my favorite guitarists, definitely. Marty Friedman, Jason Becker, the Shrapnel guys, Paul Gilbert, Bruce Boyer. Then like Alan Holdsworth, the more sort of jazzier side. Alan Holdsworth, John Scofield, Guthrie Govan.
Yeah, love Guthrie.
Paul Waddingham's actually a great one as well. He's one of my favourite sort of newer guys. He puts out a lot of really good stuff.
So
amazing guitarist.
I can only speak for me in this, but tell me if you can relate to this. When I first started playing guitar, I loved Slash. That's what got me into guitar. And after a while, it's not like I mastered that kind of bluesy rock playing, but after a while, I definitely started looking for something more. And that's when I was introduced to Paul Gilbert. And Paul Gilbert opened the door to pretty much everyone you just named. Was it similar for you where you like Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and I don't mean this in a condescending way, but like the simpler guitar playing, and then you kind of progress to the more technical guys?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I was into the more sort of, like you say, the sort of the classic rock stuff. I guess the influences after that, it sort of led on and went from the sort of classic rock into the more metal sort of stuff. I guess like Metallica was a big influence early on, in my early teens. Megadeth, that led to Megadeth and Marty Friedman.
Yeah.
And then, straight on into, from there, like Van Halen, that was sort of that was a big part, sort of Randy Rhoads as well. That sort of, it all came together. And then from there, like you say, Paul Gilbert, it sort of just goes up in levels. I think, like you say, it's sort of the 70s kind of stuff. It is a bit more sort of straightforward, more pentatonic, sort of blues-based ideas, I guess. And then, like you say, you start looking for something that can just sort of challenge you just a bit more, Yeah. And that's where these shred guys sort of come in, and they sort of they just tear the place down with technique and just like proficiency on the guitar.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it showed me like what could be done with the guitar, because I'd only heard that classic rock sound, and I was like, okay, that's awesome. And then I would hear other stuff and be like, okay, what even was that?
Yeah.
Like how can we figure that out? Like
that's
definitely, for sure. Yeah, definitely. They all, because they each of them have their own sort of unique sort of style,
Yeah.
Even I guess they all came under that sort of shrapnel umbrella, particularly in that shrapnel era. You could easily identify all of them by their sort of, I mean, obviously Greg Howe had the whole tap-in thing down.
Yeah.
Like Jason Becker, you'd associate them all sort of sweet picking stuff, but they were all sort of melodic, and they had their sort of that wicked vibrato and stuff like that. Yeah. You could easily identify them. So that's what was cool about it, I think.
And Paul's the master of the alternate picking, and now he's these days moved more to like blues rock, which is really fun to see.
Oh yeah, man, that guy scares me with that alternate picking. I just, it's just scary. I saw him live once, and I was just blown away. My jaw was just on the floor the whole time. I've never seen anyone play the guitar so effortlessly. It's just crazy.
I was fortunate enough to participate in one of his great guitar escapes, the very first one, and he played Scarified that first night with Kelly Lemieux, by the way.
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
Show.
That's right.
Was on bass, and he got to the fast arpeggio part in the middle. Like I'd call it the chorus, and he messed it up horribly. And he ended up just stopping and raising his hand, and he made some sort of joke. He was like, all right, we're going to try that again. He went back into it. I was like, I'm probably never going to see this again. Right. We're going to see Paul Gilbert mess up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, geez. That's crazy.
And that was the first time he ever jammed with Guthrie Govan, was that night. And that was just magical, man.
Jeez, God, I'd love to have seen that.
I know. I had it on tape.
Guthrie's incredible. Oh no!
I know, right?
No, shocker.
So Jeez. Van Halen is the one you always hear that classic story too about the like what is he doing type thing. Like they were and I believe he even started like playing like by turning around like when he played it live. People didn't actually know.
Yeah.
So I love that innovative guitar playing. Like any guitar player that stands out like that, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's great. George Lynch was like that as well. He because he played a gig with Van Halen apparently.
Oh,
and he saw Van Halen from behind, because obviously he was backstage. So he was like the support band or something like that. And he saw him sort of doing all this tapping stuff and thought, right, I'm nicking that.
Nice. I didn't know that. That's cool.
That's interesting, because those two have always been the kind of, do you like, who do you think is better, George Lynch or Van Halen? It's always been like those two, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Scary or
George Lynch being a little bit more metal, but they definitely are very similar style guitar players.
And Lynch Mob has some of the most massive, like bombastic riffs I've ever heard, and that made me realize Lynch is just a riff master.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't really get that as much from Dawkins, but I definitely get it from Lynch Mob. At least
there's more. I think there's more groove in it. I think it's sort of
definitely.
I don't know. Yeah, more riff based, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, geez, that's the hair metal thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not hair metal if it hasn't got reverb.
Yeah, totally. Oh my god, I love hair metal though. So what do your practice routines look like now versus what they look like kind of when you were starting out?
Oh, good question. when I was first starting out, it was more, I think, obsessive. So it was all about sort of duration and just trying to cram as much as I could into the time I had. So when I was at school, it would be get home from school and then just practice as much as I could. Be it from like the old REH videos. Didn't have YouTube back then, so I'm showing my age, but so it was like the REH videos, instructional videotapes and stuff like that. Listening to records and just working out licks and solos and stuff like that, and magazines as well. So Guitar World got over in the States, and then I was able to sort of pick that up in local shops over here, and Guitarist and Guitar Techniques magazine and Total Guitar. All these, Total Guitar, a bunch of
Total
them.
Guitar, I was going to say, is one that I got from you guys over there in the UK. So yeah, Guitar magazines was a good way to learn back then. I
definitely remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a ton of those. I've still got them. Literally, I've got a whole bookshelf.
Oh, you hung on to all
just
of them.
loads.
Nice.
Yeah,
I got boxes. I got boxes.
Got loads.
I wish I could.
They're really good. They're really good though.
Yeah, I mean, some songs are fully tabbed out, like bass and guitar and those things and stuff. And it's really cool to have.
Some of them are tabbed out by the artists themselves.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good and it's really accurate and it's good. I think it's a good learning tool. So I just like plow through those each month, just soak it all up, just what was ever in it each month. And then I'd sort of go to the back and see next month there'd be a feature on like Robin Ford or something like that. I'd be, oh, cool, I learned that. I don't know who he is, but I'll check it out. And then I'd sort of next month I'd find my new favorite guitarist. And that was it really sort of in the early days. Yeah. And then that sort of carried on really, I think, into my sort of like early 20s. And then I think it moved away from the whole sort of like, 10 hours a day, whatever, practicing, more to sort of focusing on songwriting and learning the craft of sort of music, I guess, instead of just sort of getting techniques down. When I was sort of confident, I could do a bit of tapping and a bit of sweep picking, legato and all that sort of stuff. I thought I need to learn how to write a song now and sort of implement it.
Yeah.
So I think, in my sort of like late teens, early 20s, the focus, I think, shifted more into songwriting. So the bands I was listening to at the time, I sort of got into the prog metal kind of stuff. So really just went to town trying to sort of get in the mindset of how to write that style of music.
Right. And that's really how it starts, right? You learn how to play the instrument first, and you're learning how to like just get your hands to do the thing you need them to do.
Yeah.
And then you got to apply it, and like now I'm going to make my own music. And that's
to me it's
goal.
like, a painter gathering paintbrushes and then painting
or supplies,
instead of just trying to throw
exactly. I would say definitely.
Absolutely.
So I think, I'm still at that these days, really, just sort of still working on it, still learning. Obviously, music is an endless sort of quest, isn't it? There's no end. There is no end to it. You're learning every day, pick up something new and learn stuff. But that's why we love it. And every day I just try and learn something new, I guess, and just get inspiration from different pieces of music and write my own tunes and just have fun, really. That's why we're here.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Enjoy it.
Jinx, Matt. We say the same thing at the same time.
We'll pan left and right, and it'll be absolutely in stereo.
There you go. We'll pan it. I've been on a kick lately where I've been having to learn a ton of like pop songs and things like that, and that's, I feel like, really stretched me in different directions and show me unique ways to look at the guitar and how to use the guitar in a song without kind of having to be that guy that's like, look, I'm the guitar player. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sort of sit back and just get in the pocket,
and a lot of right hand stuff. Things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's how you play as well, isn't it? Sort of like the tone you're getting out of the sort of out of the hands. That's really important. Yeah. And all different styles of music, like you say with pop and that, they're going to sort of exploit different areas of your playing than say like if you were to do like, I don't know, like a classical piece, obviously, or like a more metal sort of thing, stuff we sort of are used to.
Yeah.
So it's good fun just going and dipping in and out of the different styles.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of trying to soak up the key ideas from each style, and then you kind of put them in your engine, mix them up, spit them out, and something new comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just gather it all up and just see what happens.
So Prospect is your band, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about this most recent album. It came out in 2017, I think I saw.
Yeah, last year. I can't believe it's been out that long already, but yeah, it's crazy.
Can you walk us through the process of making that album all the way from, concept to writing to production and all that stuff? Because it's really something. We really like it a lot.
Oh, thanks a lot. It started, I think, probably about a year and a half before the album was released. To start writing for it. So that consists mainly of sort of, I'll just draft demos for most of the stuff, write most of the music, and then sort of just stick it in Cubase, and just do sort of botch drums and botch bass and botch keyboards and things like that, and sort of pretty rough guitars. And then I'll just send that to the rest of the band, and just see what they think, and sort of go from there, really, and then sort of work on it from the ground up, really.
Right.
And then from there, I guess a concept sort of develops after the initial ideas. I think you sort of just get a vibe of where it's going instead of sort of start with the concept like some bands do.
Sure.
I think I prefer to sort of get the music flowing, see what happens, see where it's going, see what the vibe is. And then from there you can attach something to it. And then it's a bit like a snowball effect. Once you've got the idea, stuff just starts happening, I guess.
Yeah, you're kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and
cool.
Once you've got one song, you kind of think, okay, right, we need more of a ballad now because it's getting a bit sort of like clogged up with all this technical stuff. And then you just sort of, you can play the album, you can start to see the order where it's going to pan out, and just go from there. And I like to write from a visual sort of point of view, so I like all these sort of like the space stuff, all the astronomy sort of stuff. So just sort of got some universe book and that, and look at a couple of pictures of the like galaxies far, far away, and then just start writing riffs, and
Nice.
it starts to come together. And then from there, just hit up the studio and just record the stuff. I do all the guitars at home.
Okay. Are you using Kemper, Fractal?
Fractal, or Axe Effects.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which one do you have?
It's just the standard, actually. It's just the one way back 2010, I think I got it.
There's so many of them now. I'm not really up to date on the Axe Effects, but I know the 3 is out now, and it's supposed to be awesome.
Yeah, you have the standard, the 2, and then the 2, or the Ultra, I guess, which was kind of like a 1.5. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was like a mini upgrade to the one I've got, which is the standard. So yeah.
So does the one you got do everything you need to do? Are you looking forward to upgrading anytime soon or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really I've had a lot of sort of joy out of the standard. It's really good. It's done all I can ask from it over the last couple of years, definitely. But I think it is starting to sort of get a little old. Its age is starting to show a little bit, I think, because it is 8 years old after all. I think it's 2010, 2011 I got it.
That's crazy for a piece of technology.
I know, it's mad. It still sounds amazing, but I think I'm actually going to sort of try next week the Torpedo 2-note stuff.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good. So you're going to try to use an amp head with modeling an IR cab, or? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I've got this Engel cab, which I'll use sort of for live shows and that. And I love the sound it gets. And I think there's just something about tube amps that you just sort of get this different feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
And I kind of want to try and capture that.
Yeah.
Sort of home. So I do want to see what this whole sort of IR thing is. I'm excited to sort of try it out and to see what that sort of brings.
We tried that, didn't we, Matt? We used a load box to I guess tone down the power wattage or whatever on the head.
Right.
Cool. And, how did you find it?
I think I had some issues with the load box. I had the radio load box, and it was doing some wacky stuff to the tone that I was not doing. And when we kind of got it to work, it sounded fine, but it was kind of a pain in the butt set up.
Right.
And I mean, because I have the Kemper, so that's
all right.
Just, I mean, it's already ready to go. It's so easy to use.
Right, you're used to profiles, and they're pretty good. Like as far as feel, I really like the Kemper. I know Dallas does
and
too.
Matt's a tube amp guy.
Yeah, and I generally play out of tube amps all the time, but Dallas has a Kemper, and I'm recording with him right now, and the Kemper is actually, I love it. Actually, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever played?
Do you prefer it to the Axe Effects then?
I've played with the Axe Effects twice, and it was like a really short, kind of brief thing. So it's really hard for me to say that for sure. But, but on my initial, I prefer the Kemper.
I can say I also prefer the Kemper, and I did own an Axe Effects for a while.
Okay.
And I had both. I had both at the same time, and I ended up selling the Axe Effects just because I never used it. And I had it sitting right there, and it's definitely more for someone that loves to kind of dive into the nuances and the tube bias and all those different settings it has. And the effects on it are phenomenal.
Yeah.
But for me, I like to just turn it on and start playing. And it was a little harder for me to do that with the Fractal. So the Kemper, you turn it on and you just scroll anywhere and you're going to find a profile that inspires you to do something. Like, even if it's wacky, with harmonies and sparkle reverbs and all this crazy stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, I've heard so many good things about the Kemper. I really have.
Yeah, and if you know anything about this show, we talk about the Kemper every episode.
I think I might have to try it out now. Then
it always comes up. Yeah, we love it. But yeah, Matt did a little scratch tracking with the Fractal, and it was
fine.
Fractal.
Like, it's not that I had any problems with it. I definitely had no problem feeling inspired by the Fractal. I just, if I was going to choose out of the two, and like I said, it was a brief thing with the Axe Effect, so I didn't get to dive into it or anything. But yeah, I don't know.
And obviously that's not to say people don't get amazing stuff.
No, obviously, right. I mean,
if the stuff with Prospect stuff,
right? That's what I was going to ask
phenomenal.
you.
Periphery, all that stuff. I mean,
you record all your Prospect stuff through the Axe Effects, or did you do anything special for that record, or anything different?
It was Axe Effects for everything apart from the clean stuff and some of the kind of the odd sort of overdubs with like flanges and effects and things like that. That was actually bias effects.
Okay.
That's awesome.
That stuff.
Have you ever thought about running the Fractal as just an effects box through your Ingle?
Yeah, I've done that live actually.
Okay,
that's what I do live.
Cool.
So I'd still use it for effects. Probably if I sort of go down this sort of the IR route with the 2-notch torpedo, I'll see how it sort of fits in with the effects. I've got a G major as well, TCL electronic G major, which is really cool as well. I kind of like it's kind of old, but it's just got something about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was
the
always
reverb and
fascinated
delays
by
on
that product, but I never got a chance to try it. They look great, though.
Just something about it. I don't know. It's just the reverbs on it and the delays I really just like. Can't pinpoint. I don't know. It's got more of a sweet sort of old sound, like, I don't know, some sort of like early 90s sound to it. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I just like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have the one? Is it the one that you can like take apart and like have it in a rack and then also have it on the floor? Is that the one?
No, I think it's just a rack one. I don't think it doesn't look like you can take it apart.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
So what does your home studio look like apart from that Fractal?
To be honest, it's really simple. It's a really basic setup. I need to sort of do some upgrading, but I've just got Focusrite Scarlett as an interface.
Yeah,
6i61. Spoke about the Axe Effects and the G major. Just a Mac, a couple of Yamaha speakers, some M audio, MIDI keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's about it, to be honest, really.
That's a simple setup. That's all you need, though, these days, man. The DAWs are so powerful, and I mean, just the stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
especially with if you're doing, guitar tracking, you can just have one of those Scarlett like 2i4s or even simpler than that, and a Kemper or a Fractal, and you just sit at home with a laptop and you crank out solos and send them all over the world.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's such a good time to be like a musician in terms of like recording home studios and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just great. It's kind of effortless, really, just to come into the studio, hit record, and then you're away. That's it.
Yeah. I think about that all the time. And then the ability to make a video and post it on YouTube or anything. Yeah. It's just so easy. Everything is
exactly.
So crazy.
I was joking with Matt the other day because he's in the process of doing guitars for his album. And he was, we were talking about studios and ISO boots and cabs and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, if you use a Kemper, you can just go sit in a Starbucks, and just sit there with a laptop and record everything, and it'll sound, as pro as it would if you were anywhere else.
Yeah, it's not going to change. It's so crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it will. It's amazing.
It would be funny to actually film that, go record a song and like film it in Starbucks. People are just walking by, like, what is going on right now?
The best part of that video would be the people's faces walking by.
That's exactly what you do it for. Yeah.
That is definitely a YouTube video in waiting there.
I definitely want to see that on your channel.
That'll be funny.
I might try that, actually. Yeah, I might have to give that a go. Definitely.
So one thing I've been dying to ask you after I saw the Akaibara solo on your Instagram, which I've been following you for a while, but something about that solo really just made me go, like, everything about that solo was perfect for me. And I want to know, how did you find your unique voice? And kind of a two-part question. How would you suggest others find their unique voice?
Oh, thanks very much. Good question. I think in terms of finding the unique voice, it's very difficult, I think, to find like one's unique voice, but you have to really sort of have an innate ability to sort of get different things out of different musicians at different times, and then sort of take everything you've got off everyone that you've sort of absorbed and then craft it into your own thing. It's something quite difficult. I'm not really sure because I genuinely don't have the answer. I wish I did.
Yeah, it's a tough
one. But
I
think taking everything that you've got, all of your influences, put it into a big melting pot, and then trying to come up with something that demonstrates your sort of ability to sort of pick up on all these different players and pieces of music and stuff.
Right.
And it's obviously down to sort of nature as well as you as a person, because different guitar players have different sort of, you can tell just like who they are by how they play.
Right.
Like, for example, like Malmsteen, for example, you can tell it's Malmsteen because he's just so ferocious as a player, but also as a person as well. He's quite an enigmatic sort of person as well, which you can sort of hear in his playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it comes through in his playing.
Exactly. The character of the person comes through.
Yeah, so it's sort of, I think it's a reflection of your personality as well.
Yeah, and that's just being yourself, you know, like, and I think a good thing to just stay, if you're going to keep something in mind while you're trying to create your own voice, in my mind, I think just don't be somebody else. Like, if you're going to try and, you know, if you're trying to be a guitar player or whatever, don't follow any one person and say, that's who I'm going to be, and I'm going to do exactly like that person. Just let it come how it comes, and be interested in what you're interested in.
Yep. Exactly. So, yeah, I think that's the nail on the head there.
People get a little bit of narrow-mindedness. They start like following one guy and they're like, this guy's the best.
Oh, no, I definitely know people that do that. Yeah. I mean, one person comes to mind that's obsessed with Iron Maiden.
Right.
And has been since they started, and still is today, to the point of almost shunning everything else.
So it's gonna be really hard to find
anything this person comes up with just sounds like Steve Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, it's like, well, Steve Harris is already a dude. So
yeah, so that's why that's such an interesting thing.
I guess you should do a tribute band.
You can get caught in that trap, right? And that's probably where a lot of tribute bands do come from. They're just like, it's like the movie Rockstar, dude.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah,
Lee?
definitely. You just got to follow your own path. Definitely, just follow your own path and just craft out what you can, really.
Yep. And I think for people that may be saying like, it sounds great to say, you know, be yourself, but how do I be myself? How do I find out what I am?
Right.
I think Lee's dead on when, I mean, you have to listen to everything and take what you like. And if you listen to enough things, eventually you become something that no one else really is.
A hybrid of all the things.
You're a hybrid of things that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, you know, I listen to a lot of film scores, and other guitar players might not. So I can pull in things from there that people might, you know, things like that. Like,
dude, I love film scores. That's my other thing. I'm mad for film scores. I really am.
Do you do any composing yourself?
Yeah, I've got a ton. Yeah, that's going back to the studio setup. I've got way too many like orchestral libraries and things like that.
Okay, well then we definitely need to talk more after this.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I'm actually in a program for film scoring right now, so that's awesome.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Yeah, great. Yeah. I love all that stuff. I'm really into it. I'm like reading the Lord of the Rings book at the moment on Howard Shore.
Yeah.
Like there's a really awesome book that goes behind the scenes of that film and everything, goes through all the themes and stuff and all the leitmotifs. It's great.
I actually wrote a paper on the music in that in movies or in those movies for college.
Really? Cool.
I love, I mean, the Howard Shore score is phenomenal and perfect in every way. And one of my favorite videos is him writing. He has his big composer pad out, and he's writing while reading the book. He's not watching the movie. And I know he did, of course, but he was writing the main themes. He was reading from the book to write those. Like,
it's crazy.
I mean, that's next level.
Yeah, he is next level. There's like a video of him like on YouTube somewhere, and he's just like in this like setup. He's got this like haven out in like the country, and it's just incredible. And he's got like these dogs walking around and stuff like that, and he's in this amazing sort of rustic sort of music setup, and it's just incredible. And he's just like got his pen and a paper, and it's just that's all he needs, and it's just incredible. It's all in his head.
John Williams is similar, and Hans Zimmer of course has that. Yeah. I don't even know how you describe his studio, man. It's one of the craziest, coolest studios I've ever seen in my life. Matt, you would dig that studio. It's like all red and black and dark.
Oh, nice. That's my colors.
So cool.
It's like a spaceship. It's mad.
He's got synths like built into the. It's ridiculous.
That'd be cool.
But I was gonna circle back to the Akibara solo, and I really hear a lot of like, I definitely hear Greg Howe in the extended tapping part, that's the kind of tapping I love, and I say this all the time. Like, I'm not as big a fan as of the eruption tapping, where it's kind of like 3 notes on a string spread apart. Like, you know, it's like,
but that was kind of the beginning of it too. It's like before the evolution of tapping came.
So you have to factor that in.
Right.
But the Greg Howe tapping is I mean, I love that, where you're kind of going up the scale in an extended way.
Yeah.
And then I hear in the phrasing of the beginning, I mean, Andy Timmons, Guthrie Govan, that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, it was more the phrasing and the note choice that really made me feel like every note that came next, I was like, well, that's the note. That's what that should have been.
Right. So. Tasteful.
Was that a
Thanks
solo?
Very much.
And I hate to dwell too much on this solo, but I do have one final question about it. Was that a solo you sat down and really worked out, or was it a combination of improvising, while you were playing over the loop or something, or was it both? Or, I mean, I'm always curious about that.
That was a funny one, actually. Most of the time I'll sort of just jam out for my solos. I'll just have the rhythm section going and I'll just sort of get a loop and just loop it and sit there for a little while and just like play it a bunch of times and just find a couple of phrases and ideas and licks and ideas that sound cool. And then sort of focus on those and then work out little lead-ins and things like that and craft a solo that way. Mm-hmm. But that one, the Akabara solo, was a funny one that I think it was like, in fact, it was like the second take. I just sort of jammed a solo. I played it all the way through. And most of it, it had that feel to it, which is what I wanted from that solo. Just all about feel, because the whole song is kind of like that, I guess. It's sort of more of a ballad song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted the solo at the end to not be about flashy licks or anything like that. Just have something that had that vibrato and the sort of, I think I was going for more of a Marty Friedman sort of thing, like you say, Guthrie Govan, Andy Timmons as well. That sort of vibe.
Yeah, you hear all those flavors in there. It's so cool. You can hear it all.
So I just played it just second, third time through or something, and most of it I kind of liked, and then that remained on the demo. And then when it came to record the actual solo, I kind of listened to the demo solo and thought most of that is actually kind of all right. I kind of dig that because I hadn't heard it in a while when it came to sort of tracking the solo. And like, I don't know, a couple of months had passed since I heard the solo, and I actually kind of just played it thinking I was going to redo the whole solo, which I did for pretty much all the other solos.
Right.
But that one I kind of just dug it and just thought, yeah, that's cool. I'll just roll with that. And then just played it, adjusted a few bits here and there, just sort of some parts maybe were a bit untidy or whatever. So just tried to sort of clean it up and just, bring it together a bit more.
That's cool.
But I just wanted a more improvised sort of sound for that one, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and didn't I actually say that? Did I say it on the air or did I say it to you separately?
We were talking on the simulcast, the live cast on Twitch, I think is when we were talking about, wasn't that what it was?
I think so. But I was saying this. I really like that solo because it feels improvised.
Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't, because I like to think I have a decent ear for solos that I can tell have been like really scripted.
Yeah.
And sometimes a guitar player will script a solo and then perform it in a way that feels improvised. That's also awesome. Yeah. But it really bugs me when I hear a solo that I can tell was like, all right, here's part A, here's part B, here's part C, done. Like, that's kind of like, okay,
exactly.
That doesn't really do it for me. But this solo really felt real, just
that's
free,
cool.
and improvised and flowing.
Yeah, you know what's cool about that too is like if you're first, have you ever had a solo where you played it once and maybe you're not quite sure, like you don't remember quite what it was before, and you hear the same piece of music, the rhythm or whatever you're playing with a band, and then you play the same thing. Like you're like, and even though you don't really know what it was, but you just start to do the same thing. You're like, yeah, that's what goes there. That's kind of, I feel like that's probably that's probably the same kind of feeling. I love that feeling when you're like, well, I don't even have to think about it. This is what comes out. That's cool.
So what are some of the pieces of music on this Prospect album we're talking about that you feel closest to or might be a favorite or something like that? I know it's hard to pick favorites of your own music, but
yeah, I'm kind of one of these that when I do an album, it's like a bit like an actor or an actress or whatever. Some people like they shoot a film and then they say they never watch the film. They don't want to see it again. They don't want to be part of it. I'm a bit like that in a way. I do the album. I work so hard on the music and I record it all. And I'm sort of such a perfectionist when it comes to doing the actual album and the music. And I immerse myself in all of it. But then when the album comes out, I'm like, I don't want to listen to it again. I want to move on to the next thing and start working on the next thing. But if I could pick a favorite, I think maybe In the Shadow of the Earth is a cool one. That's like a bit more of a power metal one, but it's got a really cool sort of solo section in the middle with the keyboard player, which is cool. So we kind of do like a little duel on that, which is fun to play. That's a good one. Maybe the title track as well. That's quite cool because it's got a cool scale that I like. So that one was fun to play as well. It's got lots of cool ideas in that, I think. I think those ones probably. Actually,
cool. Yeah,
title track.
It's cool. It's cool that like how you remember a song is like there's like a particular scale or like a particular idea that stands out in your mind, and that's what that song always is to you. And you know, and to most people, it's everything. It's like all the whole song together. So that's part of why you don't want to listen to it again either. It's like you're listening to your ideas more than you're listening to the music itself. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
And I was going to say, by the time an album is finished, you've listened to it so many millions of times that you just in your head done.
Yeah, that's it.
You know every part that's coming. There's nothing to be surprised by anymore.
If I hear this again, I'm not going to want to play it live.
Yeah, that's it. That is exactly it. Yeah.
So who are your bandmates in Prospect?
So we've got on drums we've got Blake Richardson. We all met. Most of us met at school. Phil Wicker, he's on bass. Then we got Michael Morris, he's on vocals, and Rox Capriotti, he's on keyboards.
Very nice. And who's singing? Sorry,
Michael Morris, his name is.
Very nice. Love his voice. A lot of the many parts of the album, I'll say, really remind me of Dream Theater and Symphony X and kind of that more progressive side of things. Mm-hmm. That really appeals to me.
Yeah. How influenced by them are you? Would you say are you familiar with their music?
Yeah, massive. Yeah, Symphony X. I was obsessed with Symphony X. Sort of.
I've seen them a couple times.
In my sort of teens. I think I got their album when I was like 14, 15 at college or something like that. Or no, I would have been a bit older. I think I was like 17 or something at college or whatever. And I got their album and I just played it so much that the CD had to get sent off to be cleaned because it just kept flicking.
Yeah. Which album was that?
It was actually the live album, Forever. Cool. And it got to like the Divine Wings of Tragedy, to like the outro and stuff, and it would be like halfway through the solo, like Romeo was like blazing this solo, and then it would like start flickering. I'd be like, no.
Oh yeah, right. The worst part. Yeah,
exactly. So I was like, it's got to be sent off. I need to get it cleaned.
Even a millisecond flicker in a Romeo solo, you miss 100 notes.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Dude, I saw that guy. I saw him play. Like I think maybe 3 times I've seen Symphony X now, and every time I'm just like, this is unbelievable. It's like it's a totally different thing than when I play guitar. He's another
an interesting guy
thing.
too. From my understanding, he's real quiet. He kind of avoids press.
Yeah, I saw him on his birthday. I saw him one time, actually, a show was on his birthday. That's awesome. And it was cool. He was actually a little bit more like having fun. Yeah, they were drinking. Had cake.
I also have heard that he loves Star Wars. Right. So that really appeals to me because I love Star Wars as well.
Yeah. He's got a new album out as well.
His solo album. I haven't listened to it yet, but I have it on queue.
Oh, if you like the Star Wars stuff as well, like the John Williams stuff, it's so good. It's so good. The album, it's
phenomenal. I know he does a lot of the composition work that's kind of background for their stuff, right? Symphony X. I mean, that's pretty much his band. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think so. He sort of has the biggest say in sort of all the orchestral stuff, like on the Odyssey and stuff like that. That was his sort of jam. There's like the liner notes at the back in the back of the booklet, and then like Russell Allen sort of has got this quote saying like, when Romeo showed me the first sort of 3 minutes, I was like blown away by it.
Yeah, man, Russell Allen, man. I mean, what a great singer for that band. You know,
he's a beast. Yeah,
I love him for Adrenaline Mob. I really like that.
Adrenaline Mob, and also he's in Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah, of course.
Or was. I don't know if it still is.
That's it. Yeah.
Another thing about Symphony X, it's interesting that the first however many albums that were recorded in, and I may be getting this wrong, but the first bunch of albums were recorded in like professional studios, you know, several of them, whatever. And then at some point they moved to recording them at Romeo's house. And the production sounds a million times better.
Wow.
And that's interesting to me. I don't know exactly
what his studio looks like.
That is, but like the last like 3 or 4, however many, sound phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah, they're really good. I think they were mixed by Jens Bogren. The last 3, I think it's the last 3. It was Underworld, Iconoclast, and Paradise Lost.
Yep, all 3.
They were Jens Bogren. Yeah, they were Jens Bogren. So
they upped their game on the mixing side too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I love like CLIs and all that stuff, but the production is just poor enough that I can't listen to it too much. You know what I mean? Or at least it bugs me in some way.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. When you listen to that, you need to accept the production is sort of going back into like the 90s, and you need to sort of just listen to it with that sort of outlook. I think.
I honestly feel the same way about Pantera, which is sometimes an unpopular opinion. I love their music. I love their riffs. I love Dime's playing, but the mix of those records, I cannot listen to them too much.
I think it's when you develop as a musician as well. Like when I was in my sort of teens and that, and I was listening to Pantera, as you say, I was a massive fan, and I didn't notice the mixing and the production because I wasn't really looking out for production. I was just looking for sort of aggression in the music the energy playing and things like that. But now, sort of as you develop and your ear develops, I think you start noticing things that you didn't notice before as a musician, I think. So
I actually, because Matt and I were having, arguments is a strong word, but we were discussing.
Right, we argue with love. We argue with love.
We were discussing the Pantera mixes, and I pulled up, Lee, you use DAWs, you probably know FabFilter, Pro Q, and any sort of EQ that'll show you what you're looking at. And I pulled up a Periphery mix, and I pulled up Pantera, I think Cowboys from Hell, and I screenshotted the audio. Dude, it was hilarious.
To be fair,
really?
To be fair, I was arguing for Vulgar more than I was arguing for Cowboys from Hell. I understand that Cowboys from Hell is and even though it was like their fourth real record or whatever, but it still
the Pantera mix was like a linear line. It was like no bass all the way up to the maximum amount of. It was ridiculous.
I'm going to have to try that now. I'm going to do that.
And then the Periphery mix, of course, is perfectly balanced. I mean, Nolly is phenomenal.
Right. It's a different animal.
He did our first album, actually, the first Prospect album.
Really? That's awesome. We're actually in talks with him to do our album.
Awesome. Really cool.
So I'm super excited about that.
He's wicked. He's so good. He's just crazy.
Yeah. Ooh, you don't have to tell me twice, man. I love all of his stuff. I was going to ask you for the album we're discussing with Prospect, the latest one. Who did the production? I assume you did a lot of it, and you said you did some studios and stuff as well. So I want to know about that, and also who mixed and mastered and all that kind of nitty gritty. Yeah,
it was I sort of engineered most of it myself, and then it was mixed by a chap called Øyvind Larsen, based in Norway. He's in a band called Witham, and they are. I think they were on the same label as us. And they did a pretty cool album that had really good production on it. So I think I just remembered his name from listening to the album. When I heard the album, I was really sort of quite blown away by the production. He'd done it. So we just got in touch with him, and he was available to mix, which was cool. And then after that, it was actually mastered by, it wasn't done by Jens Bogren, but it was at his studio, Fascination Street Studios.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yes, so it came out pretty well. I think the production, how it worked the production with the two
was so solid and even, and I mean, just perfect for that kind of music too, which is, I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah, we wanted something that was a bit. I think we wanted sort of a production on it that was sort of a bit of a throwback to prog of like the early sort of 2000s and stuff like that. Instead of sort of like that sort of metal production that sort of goes around quite a lot now, we've wanted to sort of be able to hear the keyboards and hear some of the sort of the little nuances in the orchestration and things like that. Yeah. And Øyvind was pretty good at that, just sort of bringing those sort of elements to it, I think. So yeah, it came out pretty well.
So one thing we love to talk about on this show is how do you? Well, let me back up first. As musicians, it's easy to kind of get in ruts, especially after you've been playing for so many years. You kind of feel like you're doing the same thing. Yeah. How do you stay creative and inspired? I mean, this far down the line.
Oh, that's a good question. Personally, myself, I tend to just try to find new music to listen to.
That's what a lot of people say, actually.
Yeah, it can be any sort of genre as well. So going back to sort of that film scoring thing that you're into as well. I mean, I got into that, I don't know, probably about 8 or 9 years ago.
That would be about the same for me. Yep.
So I think it was just one of those things that gave me something else to aspire to. I mean, there's a lot of things in film scores that you can take and you can apply in sort of in other genres, like the prog metal stuff that obviously the Prospect stuff do. So we could there's a bit of a crossover there. So instead of kind of getting stale sometimes with the guitar and maybe trying to come up with a couple of riffs, you can start getting some of the elements that I'd studied in the film score world, and trying to apply those, like be it some odd scales or some odd chord progressions, things like that, even like inversions, different ways to play a melody, different intervals and stuff, all sorts of different things that you don't tend to think about too much when you're just sort of jamming and looking for like a metal riff or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, just in terms like just getting out of a rut, I tend just to sort of just listen to some of my favorite music, just stick it on. I mean, there are albums that I'll sort of, if you ask me my top 10 albums and I've reeled them off, some of them I'll probably go, hang on a minute, I haven't listened to that album in about, a year or two.
Dude, I'm the exact same way. My top bands, I don't listen to that much.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. So sometimes I'll just sort of sit there and think, you know what, I haven't listened to this album in like a year or what feels like 2 years, and then you stick it on and you're like, that's why it's in my top 10 favorite albums. Right. Yeah. And then you stick that and then you feel really inspired to sort of get on it and really sort of try and achieve what you want to achieve. So yeah, it's just sort of branching out, trying different things. Even in terms of like sitting on the guitar or whatever, if you're sort of having a rut and you feel it's not working, try and play something like a different technique. Try and look at the guitar in a different way. So if you sort of got these sort of certain arpeggios that you play, try and play them in a different way. Try and sort of add different things to it. Try and approach. Break out sort of what's the norm to you, because everyone's got their own sort of little niche ideas that they try. And when you pick up the guitar, sometimes you end up playing some of the sort of same sort of licks. But if you try and look at the fretboard differently and try and come up with some different ideas, that can open a gateway to new ideas and maybe like a new concept on the guitar that you found that you think you can sort of take to the next level and stuff and work on.
Yeah. And I think that ties in with something else we've heard from a lot of our guests, which is learning. So if you kind of feel like you're in a rut, go pursue some theory you don't know. For example, maybe you don't know how to use the 12-tone interval thing that I don't even know what it's called anymore. It's been so long since I studied that. But I mean, that's how Blotted Science wrote Cretaceous Chasm. And,
that was so cool. I love that Blotted Science album.
If you've seen that video, that it literally shows the 12 tones and highlights them as he's going through them, and it shows you how he kind of came up with that.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That's so good, isn't it?
It's so interesting how he came up with a very musical, interesting thing. And then they synced it to, King Kong. Like what? Like so many like levels to that song. But it's just interesting that you can take, you might learn this one idea and be like, oh, I have to use that right now. And now all of a sudden you're more inspired than you've ever been.
Right.
And it's just because you read about this one thing. But sometimes you have to go pursue that. You have to have the self-awareness to know, like, I'm stuck. I need to go get out of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got to sort of just keep pushing yourself, I guess, and sort of constantly trying to look forward as well.
Yeah.
And sort of keep going. But then it's not bad, like I say, to look back and listen to those old albums.
Right,
maybe go back and
remember why you started playing guitar.
Right.
Yeah. You can
exactly.
Or back.
Just have fun. That's all it is. Just have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, keep doing what interests you, ultimately.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
One final thing we've heard on this topic that I think is really true, and you kind of alluded to it as well, is if you're stuck, play something, write something.
Yeah.
Gary Gray. You just move, get one note down, and then from there the next one comes, and the next one comes, and pretty soon you're not stuck anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that snowball effect, definitely. Yeah.
I wanted to circle back to the practicing thing we were talking about. I know as guitar players we've all kind of had those. At least for me, it feels like I've had breakthroughs when practicing, and like it seems like I was stuck, and then overnight something clicked. And I want to know what some of your greatest breakthroughs were practicing, whether in the beginning or lately or any time in between.
I think a big one for me, actually, that I always remember is that, again, it was sort of in my teenage years when I was really sort of working on playing a lot. I don't know why, but I had this thing that I thought, for some reason, I was really into Van Halen. Mm-hmm. But then I went through sort of a phase after that, and I got into different guitar players or whatever. And I sort of conned myself into thinking that tapping was cheating. So I didn't do any tapping for like a year or 6 months or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny how we do that to ourselves.
I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I decided that, but I just decided that tapping was like cheating or something like that. I thought it was that or something like that. And it's really stupid now to admit it. But then, and then I sort of read this column in Guitar Techniques, and Sean Baxter does this column on like these guitar players, and it was on tapping, and it was Greg Howe, and I thought, I've not heard of Greg Howe, but he's on the same label as like Jason Becker and Marty Friedman and that. I'll listen to him. And I just hit play on this thing, and I listened to the examples, and I was like, oh my God, is that what Greg Howe sort of sounds like? Jeez, and this is all tapping. And then I sort of got the Introspection album and just was like blown away by it, and obviously realized that tapping was just the way forward. Yeah. So from then on, it was like, right, I need to get my tapping chops up and get that down. So I think that was a big breakthrough.
Yeah,
awesome.
The whole tap-in thing. As simple as it is.
It's interesting, those things we tell ourselves and stuff like that. And a lot of times, like, I mean, you say you think it's stupid now, like listening back to it, but it's so funny how we're defined by those decisions we make, like as guitar players.
They're almost arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's and all of it's like, that doesn't matter because you can do whatever you want to do. It's your playing. You get to decide what you want to do. But ultimately, like, we make these rules up in our head.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even
I
you
use too
just
much
said,
pentatonic or whatever. You know, like,
if someone was to ask you why are you against tapping, you would have been like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it sounds stupid. No, it really does. It sounds stupid. Yeah. But I was just young and just probably just like, I don't know. I was just I was reading guitar books all the time and magazines and things like that, and just trying to work on different stuff. And I think I just went through a stage like when I was 19, and the whole year I was just like, right, I want to be TJ Helmrich and just only do 8-finger tapping. And that now sounds like an idiotic idea, but at the time I thought it was the best idea in the world, just to be Jennifer Batten / TJ Helmrich. But it's just one of those things. It's just part of like learning, I guess.
Yeah, and it's part of what makes you who you are too. So it's always good to embrace like whatever it is. Period. Just do it.
Yeah, it's just the journey, isn't it?
Absolute favorite guitar stories I've ever heard was on our Greg Howe episode when he was talking about. We asked him the question, "How did you come up with your style and all that stuff?" And he said his style is defined by limitations. And I think there's a lot to be taken out of this story in that statement in particular. But what he said is he was learning Van Halen licks without seeing Van Halen play.
Right.
So he had to come up with interesting ways to make that happen because he didn't know that tapping was a thing. So he had to come up with all these interesting ways because he could not play these things the way they were supposed to be played. And he didn't know that. And
he didn't know it was tapping. He didn't know about it.
Like, so he was just trying to came up with all these interesting things to do it. And it's like, I mean, there's so much to learn from just that little paragraph that I just said right there, which is not mine, it's Greg's, of course. But
we're defined by limitations.
That must be so hard, though, to play Van Halen without tapping.
Yeah, so you're listening to that and going, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it didn't sound exactly right, but it doesn't matter because it got him where he needed to go. So it's cool.
And it helped him open up into new areas.
Right, exactly.
That's a good point. I can relate to that with alternate picking. I just can't alternate pick to save my life. That's just something I just can't do. So, like you say that, like Greg mentioned, it's just a workaround. Like you've got to sort of take what you're good at and sort of try to sort of just exploit it, really. Because if you focus on what you're not great on, you can sort of just get a bit down about it. Because you can think, I'm never going to be Paul Gilbert with the sort of alternate picking, So you can try and fight it, or you can just go for something that maybe comes just a bit more natural to you, and then sort of just occasionally throw it in there if you want, just for sort of effect.
Like the guitar players that are masters of legato, like Joe Satch and stuff. And I'm not saying Joe Satch can't alternate pick,
right?
But in a hypothetical world, let's say it's possible that he developed that legato because he was struggling with alternate picking, and now he comes up with a new thing that everybody associates with him and is very iconic for him.
Right.
And it's because he couldn't do this one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, that's probably not true. So
right.
But it could be. You never
know. What are your? You said top 10 albums. Let's say top 5. What are your top 5 albums?
Yeah.
This is always a fun question to ask because people are like, "Oh God."
Yeah.
Wow, you're putting me on the spot now. I should not have said that earlier.
It is a tough one.
I can usually get my top 1, and then 2 through 5 can change.
Almost. Because I think it changes depending on my mood. So sometimes you might catch me and it could be like, like 3 metal albums or something, and then like 2 film scores. And then one day it could be like, I don't know, 3 film scores and a jazz album and like a fusion album or something like that. So it depends.
So where did we catch you today?
Right now, I would have to put Symphony X in there.
Yeah.
They're my favorite band, I guess. So it'd probably be the 5 album that would go in there.
Nice.
Adagio Underworld. That's a great prog metal album as well with Stefan Forte on guitar.
Okay.
That's amazing. That would go in there. I'd put in Paul Waddingham. Actually, he's an amazing guitar player. There's an album called The Human Affliction.
Okay.
I'd put that in there. Greg Howe needs to go in there. He's my favorite guitar player, I think, just about.
Yeah, which album would you?
That's really tricky because, again, it depends
honestly,
the time and day.
I've loved the newest one, Wheelhouse, so much that I would probably say that's my top one right now.
Really?
Wow, not my top
it's a
number
killer
one album overall, but his top Greg Howe album is probably Wheelhouse.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I love that album, actually. It's sort of quite diverse, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd probably say Parallax, actually.
Yeah.
Just about, Parallax. That's really cool.
Hell yeah.
And number 5, did I say number 5?
I haven't been focused on.
Yeah, it's 5 or 6. I'm just listening on. I'm thinking about what those albums are.
I think I'll probably say the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. Howard Shore.
Oh man, how can you not? How can you not cry when you hear The Hobbit and the Shire theme?
I know
it evokes such senses of home.
And
such. I mean,
it's just
nostalgia.
Iconic, isn't it?
Like it's
I think about film scores, like when I think about them as far as like what you get out of them when you're listening to them, and what I love, like when I listen to film scores, is that during movies, I don't listen to them outside of movies really, but during movies is the emotion that they evoke without very much going on. Like they're so very slow and so simple, but they really get you. Like they get you deep. It's good.
And it's
exactly.
It's the juxtaposition of that sound with the visuals.
Right. It really is.
I mean, that's what movies are. That's the perfect blend.
Yep. You can add that to music. You can put film score like underneath music that you could have a whole piece of like a whole song written and then add that type of vibe with,
and you evoke emotions immediately.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's interesting, if you change the music, you change the whole scene.
Oh yeah. It really does.
There's some funny YouTube videos on that.
Yeah.
So,
there are.
So the last thing I want to ask you, Lee, is what's next? I mean, what can we expect from you in the future?
I've got this solo album I've been working on. That'll be out in the next 2 months, I reckon, 2-3 months.
Nice.
So that's just, I guess, like a progression from the sort of the Prospect stuff. I guess it's kind of more sort of prog metal styling, but with more orchestration on it. Again, sort of getting that film influence in there. So it's got a lot of that stuff in there, but then I kind of wanted it to be a bit of a throwback to the sort of the Shrapnel era guitar stuff.
Cool.
So trying to sort of just put a load of that stuff in there. So yeah, that's recorded. Just got a few sort of guitar parts here and there to add to it. And it's pretty much mixed anyway. And then it'll just be sent off for mastering. And that'll be out, I reckon by the end of the year, most likely. Very soon. That's only a couple months. Yeah.
Are you putting that out yourself, or is that on any kind of label or anything like that? How's that?
I'll be putting that one out myself, actually. Cool. Yeah, so I'll be getting like a website set up and then sort of just trying to sort of get the whole marketing thing going.
There's a lot to be said for the independent path
nowadays, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's something I feel like I kind of want to attempt. So I know I've got to learn that side of it as well, the whole marketing thing and sort of trying to get the business side of it. It's kind of easy to forget that as a musician. But I want to try and sort of focus on that and just see how I get on with that, and then just put it out myself, and just hopefully some people will like it.
Yeah, it's two different minds, though, isn't it? It's the artist mind and the business mind, and that's something that like nowadays you're kind of expected to do everything, especially with the doing it yourself if you're doing it independent, And
especially like, I mean, how do you even, if you're not already down that path, how do you even go about finding people that can help you with business, managers, agents, things? It's like. So it's like to get them, you have to have them. You know what I mean?
But then look at Chance the rapper. Look at he's a huge example because he's all by himself, independent and huge.
Won a Grammy, right?
Huge, and won a Grammy, and just
that was the first Grammy that was won independently.
Right.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I think that's crazy, really
it's a sign of the times, man.
Really hopeful.
Yeah, it's a sign of the change happening.
Definitely,
absolutely. I bet labels are so pissed.
Dude, they're trying to play that down for sure.
It's definitely.
So Lee, thanks again, man. Thanks so much. This has been phenomenal.
Yeah, awesome, Lee.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. Really had a great time talking to you, actually, and just hanging out. Yeah,
definitely. Music hangouts, man. That's what it's all about. And meeting new people. So
yeah, absolutely, man. So cool talking to you from the other side of the world, too,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's great, isn't it? It's just
technology.
Modern technology. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Matt sounds like such an old guy right now.
I am an old guy. I feel like it.
Well, thanks again, Lee. We'll talk to you soon, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys take care.
All right,
cheers.
See you, Lee.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you could take a second to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast, it really helps us to be more visible to more musicians.
And don't forget, you can support the show by clicking on the link on our website that'll take you to our Patreon page. There you'll have access to content that is unavailable to non-patrons.
Make sure you follow our socials by going to themusicianstalkshow.com/Facebook/Instagram or /YouTube to stay up to date on all the cool things we have going on here at the show. And lastly, email us with any questions, comments, concerns, or guest ideas at dallas@themusicianstalkshow.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.